Go! Hey friends, my name is Chris Walker and I work at the Glazer Children's Museum, building and taking care of the exhibits that we play with there. Now just like you at home, I've been doing my part to stay safe and healthy by keeping my distance from those around me. Now what that means is that I can't go to the Children's Museum to play with the exhibits right now, just like you. And boy do I miss those exhibits. One of the exhibits I miss the most is the airplane launcher up in Engineer's Workshop. I sure wish I could launch some airplanes. You know, I bet we could build our very own airplane launcher right here at home. What do you say? Let's give it a shot. First, let's gather some material we need to build our airplane launcher and airplanes from around the house. The recycling bin is a great place to find your raw materials, the stuff you'll use as the building blocks to construct your airplane launcher. Just be sure that if you're getting stuff out of the recycling bin, you're cleaning it off and making sure it doesn't have any food on it. And when you're done with your airplane launcher, be sure to recycle everything again. Okay friends, I've gathered my raw material to build the airplane launcher. I'll just need a few more tools and then we can go ahead and get started. Some other things you might want to grab are scissors, tape, construction paper, a straight edge, colored pencils or markers, hot glue or a glue stick, and whatever other decorations you might want to build your launcher. Okay, do you have all your things? Let's get building. Alright friends, I'm just about done with my airplane launcher and I think it turned out great. What do you think? I'm so excited to tell you about some of the features it has. For starters, I had to decorate it, of course, right? So I wrote GCM for Glazer Children's Museum on the side and takeoff to remind people to watch out for where the airplanes are launching from. And then it's got this cool little sloped ramp section, kind of like the one at the museum does. I even put some green arrows on there to show me which way the airplanes will be launching. Now finally, the thing that all of our airplane launchers need is a way to launch the airplanes forward. That's what gives the airplanes lift. We'll talk more about that later. Now to make my airplanes move through the sky, I added a rubber band on the very end. I'll show you how it works a little bit more later, but basically the airplanes sit on my platform, rest inside this track, I hook them onto my rubber band launcher, and then I spring them forward. Now that we have our airplane launcher, I think we need something else. Oh yeah, airplanes. Let's make some airplanes. Do you know how to fold an airplane? If not, follow along with me. Alright friends, do you want to learn how to fold a paper airplane just like this one? No problem. Follow along with me. Now for my paper, I pre-folded it and added some lines to make it easier for you to see and learn. But you can do this with just a regular piece of paper as you do it with me. Now for step one, we're going to take our paper and we're going to fold it in half down the center. Hot dog style, that is, not hamburger. Let's open it back up. Now we can see our fold. For step two, we're going to take our top corner and fold it towards that center line we just made. Make sure to press your line and crease it nice and tight. We want good folds. Now for our airplane to stay balanced, whatever we do to one side, we want to do to the other. This is called keeping it symmetrical. They should look the same. Alright, both our corners are folded. For step three, this can be a little tricky because we don't have a corner at the top anymore, but we basically want to repeat step two. So we'll take our new top corner and we'll again fold that towards our center line, being careful not to cross over. There's that side. And there's that side. Do they look even? All right, we're almost ready for our last step. Before we can do our last step, adding the wings, we have to fold our airplane back in half. That was step 1. Luckily, we still have our center line to remember where to fold. Our final step is to fold the wings. It doesn't matter too much how big or small the wings are just for these paper airplanes. But one important thing my pilot friend Ben told me, who used to fly for the US Air Forces, is that on planes, especially paper airplanes, it's better to have the front of the plane be as small and heavy as possible compared to the back where the wings are. This will keep your plane more balanced and fly stable. So I'm going to make my wings nice and big. There's one. I'm going to flip it over to keep it symmetrical. Fold the other one down. And there's 2. Perfect. Now we have our finished paper airplane. Notice that the front is a little bit smaller, and there's more weight in the front because that's where we made the most folds. Awesome! Do you know any ways to fold other types of paper airplanes? Alrighty, gang. I've got my airplane launcher all wrapped up, and I made a couple more airplanes to test out how the different wings and shapes and sizes affect the flight. Now, before we launch our first airplane, let's talk about flying really quick. Isn't it incredible that paper airplanes, or even real airplanes, are able to fly through the sky just like birds? Now, there are 4 different forces that affect all planes, regardless of how big or small they are, paper airplanes or real planes. Those 4 forces are weight, lift, drag, and thrust. Now, thrust, we mentioned earlier. Thrust is the force that drives your airplane forward. So for some airplanes, that might be a propeller or even a turbine jet engine. For ours, or at least for mine, it's a rubber band. Now for my airplane launcher, I had to add a little notch into the very tips of my paper airplanes so it can hook into the rubber band and launch it. Kind of like planes taking off from an aircraft carrier. The next force that directly opposes thrust is drag. Now, drag is the resistance against your forward movement of your plane. So when a plane is flying through the sky, that might be wind, that might be rain, or just the very act of the plane moving forward itself. That creates drag. So the thrust has to be substantial enough to overcome the drag. If you have the right balance of thrust and drag, then you have to have the right balance of weight and lift. Now, weight, obviously, is how much your plane weighs. So even though these are paper and they don't weigh a lot, they still have a little bit of weight. So they need lift. Lift is the final force that affects all airplanes. Lift directly opposes weight. It is the force of air acting on a plane as it moves through the air. When you have the right balance of lift, drag, weight, and thrust, your plane has the perfect recipe to fly through the air and launch in the sky. Let's see if the planes that we made have the right balance. Okay guys, I've got my airplane launcher all set up. I've got my different airplanes all lined up. Notice I made some different shapes and different sizes of planes to test and see if that affects the way they fly through the air. This plane, for example, has some flaps on the wings. That might make drag go down or up. We'll have to wait and see. This plane has a little tail to help stabilize it, so as it flies through the air, the tail will catch the draft on the back end of the plane. Here's some other examples. All right, let's load up our paper airplane launcher and see how it goes. Here's my first one. Got my rubber band. I'm hooking it on, pulling it back across my platform, and boom! Wow, that was awesome. It made it all the way over to the screen door. Let's try a couple more. Alright, I had so much fun testing our paper airplane launcher today with you. What types of paper airplanes did you make? There's some awesome tutorials and different ways of making them available online, so check out some more. And be sure to check out the worksheet down below with those 4 forces that affect all planes. What were they again? Oh yeah, weight, lift, drag, and thrust. Test your airplanes at home and see if you can make one that can fly even further than mine.